Republicans want to help Biden too?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm getting paid to do. My people are undercover because some of them are Republicans, some of them are Democrats. So some of my Republicans are precinct chairs that cannot be known because they could get kicked out, but they want to help the Biden.
For the entire team that I'm looking at $55,000.
So $55,000 for 5,000 votes, optimistic, eager Biden.
That's right.
Cash.
Cash. So I have a state rep. I have a senator right now. I'm talking in my pocket. State rep, senator, commissioner, judges. I respect you. You're going to owe me. Okay? Just remember what I'm doing.
And she's okay with that.
Yeah, who is it?
Got Pete in the pocket.
Like model right now. So he was paying me $5,000 a month, and now he's paying me $8,000 a month.
So you don't have to pay you $700 cash just to take care of that.
You take care of it. Everybody else would have paid me $3,000. She didn't have it. She just got screwed.
Right. Instead of $3,000, you got $700.
So what does she owe me? Favors. She do. Produce.
So it's not bad to have a chief judge?
I've got 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans. You're talking between $5 to $8 per vote. I'm just letting you know, so you have an idea. And I'm going to bring $3,500 to the plate.
Okay.
Countywide. So I know what I'm bringing to the plate countywide. So that's like $28,000.
You know for a fact, before I play any more of this, into 2 minute and 19 second video, but you know for a fact that mainstream media, corporate media has the resources to uncover any kind of voter fraud that's going on, and they don't do it. So it's up to YouTubers to do it. Really? They're getting the goods on these people. You become the elected official if you've got enough money, generally speaking. Yeah, there are some people who threw a ton of money at it and they get upset, but that's not the rule. That's the exception. If you've got the money, you're going to quote unquote win the votes, and you're going to get that county seat, or you're going to become the mayor, or you're going to become the governor, or you're going to become the president. The presidential process is a C-election process. I saw it for myself in 2012 when Ron Paul got railroaded in my state, Oklahoma, and then at the national stage in Tampa, Florida that year. They set up the teleprompter. It didn't matter what the voice of the people was. Speaker Boehner was the person reading the teleprompter that day. And when they say, let's hear some yays and nays, it didn't matter what the people said. He just read his teleprompter. They gave it to Romney. In my state, I'm telling you, it wasn't even a close race. Ron Paul won, and they gave it to Romney anyway because the governor, Mary Fallon, showed up, and they completely railroaded the Ron Paul crowd. If that happened in my state of Oklahoma, I know for a fact it's happening in California, in New York, in Texas, in Florida, in South Dakota. It's happening everywhere. So don't tell me with the resources that they could throw at this that mainstream media can't uncover real voter fraud. Don't tell me that there aren't tons of people, thousands of people out there profiting from selling votes and fixing and rigging elections. Under Texas election code, it's illegal to harvest ballots. It's also illegal to pay others. Here's my question. Is CNN gonna just suck it up, swallow their pride, and show this on any one of their broadcasts? Will you see it on Brian Stelter's reliable sources? Will you see it on Anderson Cooper AC 360? Will you see this anywhere on lamestream media? Fox will play it.
So those 3 judges that I'm talking about, and that's Renee Yanta, Nicole Garza, right? They're paying me $3,500. To make sure that their name is on the ballot.
So roughly for the city council race for 21, we're looking...
He's going to get 5 and I'm going to get 7, so 56. Plus, that's 14. And that's 10.
How does this Raquel Rodriguez, consultant for GOP House candidate Mauro Garza, how did this person get into this position right here? How is that even possible? This was recorded on October 23rd, 2020, just 5 days ago.
That's like 71,000.
71,000. And how do you want it?
Cash.
Wow.
A lot about that question. Greenwald is a traditional leftist. He's committed above all to forcing transparency on people who hold power. Years ago, Greenwald co-founded a news site called The Intercept. Today, he resigned. In a statement, Greenwald explained why. Quote, "The Intercept's editors, in violation of my contractual right of editorial freedom, censored an article I wrote this week, refusing to publish it unless I removed all sections critical of Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, the candidate vehemently supported by all New York-based Intercept editors involved in this effort at suppression." And he went on. Greenwald's full statement is up tonight at an internet platform called Substack, which is not yet censored. No matter who you plan to vote for next week, we recommend that you read it. Glenn Greenwald joins us tonight. Glenn, thanks so much for coming on. The idea of you resigning from a news organization you helped found is stunning. Tell us why you did.
Well, the news organization that I co-created was in 2013 at the height of the Snowden reporting. I left The Guardian to do it because I was seeing that there were a lot of constraints imposed on journalism and our ability to report freely against governments, against power centers, against all kinds of institutions that wield authority. And the premise of the news outlet, the core overarching premise, the reason it was created was to ensure that journalists would always have complete journalistic independence and editorial freedom, never have to pull punches journalistically or pay homage to pieties because of the preferences, the partisan or ideological preferences of editors or of anybody else. That was the core founding idea and vision. And then that is what makes it so amazing that at the very outlet that I co-created, that was built on my reputation, my credibility, my journalistic accomplishments, then tried to intervene to censor me 6 days before an election because I wanted to publish reporting and analysis about the evidence that raises serious questions about the conduct of the candidate that all of the editors at that outlet vehemently and enthusiastically support.
I would imagine that some of our viewers don't read The Intercept. You live outside our country, which is one of the reasons I think you say what you think is true. Tell us what this portends for the future here in the United States.
So The Intercept was actually, for a while, a unique publication, and I think the vision I just described is one reason, but another was that it was intended, above all else, to be highly skeptical of the claims of intelligence agencies. At the time when we were doing the reporting, the attacks were coming from the NSA, the CIA, the deep state against me, against my source, Edward Snowden, and against the reporting. And we knew they were lying constantly and disseminating propaganda in a very powerful way. So we set out to say, we're going to investigate them. We're going to be skeptical of them. We're going to subject their assertions to critical scrutiny. And I am so embarrassed and angered that the media outlet that I created, along with two other excellent journalists, to do that, the only article it published about all of these documents that have emerged about Joe Biden, other than a column of mine where I denounced Facebook and Twitter for censoring it, was an article that made reference in passing to those documents very snidely and dismissively to say that no one should pay attention to it because it was Russian disinformation, and it cited a letter from John Brennan, James Clapper, Mike Hayden, and the rest of the goons from the CIA and the intelligence community asserting it. And worse still, that letter said, we have no evidence that Russia's involved in any of this. The Intercept omitted that phrase, simply cited that letter to try and encourage people to ignore this evidence on the grounds that Russia had manufactured it and that the evidence was fabricated, even though there's never been any evidence for that's been true. And everything since has disproven it, showing Russia was not involved in any of this, and nobody, certainly not even Joe Biden, disputes that these emails and other text messages are completely real and authentic.
It's horrifying. So what you're watching is agencies of the U.S. government turning their awesome and unconstrained powers against the American population.
This is the real story of the last 4 years of the Trump administration, which is that for a long time on the left, there was a healthy skepticism of the CIA.
Yes, there was.
There was a lot of anti-war activism in the Bush and Cheney years. That has all disappeared. And the reason it's disappeared is because the CIA, from the very first days of the Trump administration, even before he was inaugurated, devoted themselves to sabotaging the administration because Donald Trump questioned just a few of their pieties. And that can't be done in Washington. Whoever does that must be destroyed. And so the CIA and the deep state operatives became heroes heroes of the liberal left, the people who support the Democratic Party. They're now in a full union with the neocons, the Bush-Cheney operatives, the CIA, Silicon Valley, and Wall Street. That is the union of power, along with mainstream media outlets that are fully behind the Democratic Party, which is likely to at least take over one branch of government, if not all of them, in the coming election. And that is a very alarming proposition because they're authoritarian, they believe in censorship, and they believe in suppression of information that exposes them in any kind of a critical light.
For a U.S. government agency to try and disseminate propaganda within the United States, I mean, is there any clearer attack on democracy than that?
So when we were doing the Snowden reporting, one of the things that induced Edward Snowden to come forward as someone who had worked in the CIA and the NSA was his anger and horror that the tools of the NSA had been turned on the American people. They're supposed to spy on foreign adversary governments, but they weren't. They were collecting our phone records. Same with the CIA. They're trained disinformation agents. That's what they do. They lie for a living. But they're supposed to do that in other countries where we want to induce some sort of change, overthrow a government, topple a regime, whatever quote-unquote interference the U.S. government wants to do, the way we're also upset that Russia did in 2016. That's what they're trained to do. The law, though, and the obvious foundational prohibition on having a security state, a national security state after World War II, was it was never supposed to be turned domestically. They weren't supposed to be involved in our politics or disseminating propaganda. Go turn on any of those other cable networks or pick up the op-ed page of any of the biggest newspapers, and all you'll see are ex-members of the CIA, the DOJ, the FBI, the NSA telling Americans what they ought to believe. They've infiltrated the means of communication domestically. They do it through leaks. They do it through clandestine operations and through lies. They propagandize the American people in a way that is incredibly dangerous no matter what your ideology is.
I totally agree. And I'm ashamed of the times that I made apologies for those agencies or this behavior. I really am. You are telling the truth. That's really clear. Glenn Greenwald, congratulations on getting out of there. Good to see you.
To scare off those that want to reform 230 by claiming that any efforts to change that law is going to result in more censorship, not less. And he has it backwards. As the reporter just indicated, if other people's speech is on their website, they don't need to be liable for that. That's fine. But there's a second piece of the law, which is when they take down speech, courts have read that provision as giving them carte blanche to remove any speech they want. The purpose of reforming 230 is to actually put them through the higher statutory test before they take down any speech. The upshot of that is going to be less censorship, and that is great for our democracy.
So that's the point I wanted to follow up on, Commissioner. What if their solution to this is, all right, we won't take down anything. No matter how suspicious, no matter how crazy, we won't take it down and let the reader, user beware.
Yeah, I think that's a better path forward than where we are right now. One of the solutions that they're now offering is these ideas around quote-unquote transparency. That's fine. I think we need more transparency, but that's really sleeves off the vest. They're not really copying to the fundamental reforms we need with 230. 230 right now, to your point, lays out specific categories of speech that if speech falls within that category, they can take it down, not just with the First Amendment rights that we all have, but with their bonus Section 230 protection. So I'm very comfortable with a regime in which we bring much more clarity to when you take speech down. And if the upshot of that is more speech, I think we're better for that. Let's let the American people make their own decisions. We don't need people sitting in Silicon Valley being the arbiters of truth. And I think, look, one of the reasons internet speech is so powerful in the first place is because people went there to get around the traditional gatekeepers that we had in mainstream media. And now the lack of gatekeepers that made the internet so attractive as a platform is ending. And now Silicon Valley is stepping into the role of those gatekeepers. I think we're moving in the wrong direction. That's why 230 reform is so necessary.
What if you don't know where that speech, offensive or otherwise, Commissioner, is coming from? Wasn't that part of the problem in the 2016 election, that a lot of it was coming from abroad, and there was this hacking effort on the part of the Russians, we're told, that made it hard to discern what was real and what wasn't. I mean, what are social media companies' responsibilities with something like that? Forget about the tone or tenor or even whether it's conservative or liberal stories.
Yeah, the challenge there is there's no arbiter of truth when it comes to this. Right now, you've got this New York Post story, and you have some Democrats coming out and labeling it misinformation coming straight from the Kremlin. We don't need people like this trying to label this type of speech. Let's let people make their own minds up, because increasingly what we're seeing is this concept of misinformation, this concept of disinformation is being abused by people with gatekeeper authority simply to shut down political speech they don't agree with.
What if it really is, Commissioner, coming from the Kremlin? Now, believe me, I get your rationale and thinking here. You can't just be, pick and choose your battles. But what if the stories themselves are fake, that they're coming from another venue, they're coming from a foreign entity that's just trying to screw things up in election year?
Yeah, to your point, you've got to weigh the risk of misinformation with the risk of capturing in your misinformation efforts legitimate political speech. And where I come down with that is more speech is better. If something truly is foreign government misinformation or disinformation, let's have people identify it themselves. But there's too much of a risk factor, particularly that we're seeing right now. I think, look, the bottom line here, too, is Facebook, Twitter, these entities act like a publisher every single day. When they run these fact checks, when Twitter has their trending news section, these are publisher activities that Twitter is engaging in. And I think as we reform 230, we should be very clear about that, because that publisher conduct falls outside the protections of 230.
Brendan Cartwright, now, FCC. But was very popular podcast, the Jon Taffer podcast. John, very good to have you. I mean, no one, I don't think, looks after their friends and their colleagues in the hospitality and even the restaurant industry like you do. So touche to you there. But unfortunately, despite talking to the president, despite, obviously his interest in trying to see some sort of stimulus put together, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, certainly before next week, if at all, in the near future. What do you think of that?
Well, I asked the president that very question, Neil, and he feels that the Democrats won't move till after the election. So he's sort of given up the past few weeks on dealing with it till after the election. But, he is a hospitality guy, Neil, and my purpose in the interview was not to be supportive or combative with the president, but it was to get his policies on the table with regard to our industry. I also want to note, Neil, we reached out to the Biden camp at the same time as the hospitality industry, wanting to ask the same questions, and I have not heard back. So this was really a bipartisan effort on my part to get these platforms and these important policies on the table. And we got 3 critical policies on the table from the president yesterday.
Let's talk a little bit about the spike in cases in this country. In New York and other locales, in Wisconsin, they're looking at, dialing things back. For a lot of restaurants, for a lot of bar owners and the rest, this is not welcome news. They're already, if they're lucky, working at best at 25% capacity. Some locales, maybe 50%. But you clamp down on that like they're doing now in Italy, like they're doing in Spain, like they're doing in Germany, like they're doing in France. It could be game over for a lot of these guys.
Oh, Neil, I think hundreds are probably closing today, and every day we lose more. So this is a ticking clock. And I want to remind us that the restaurant industry lost more jobs during the pandemic than any other industry. So this is serious, and this affects all of our neighbors. That's why a new PPP plan is so important. And the 3 big elements that the president committed to was a renewal of the PPP plan, and he specified that the new version of the PPP plan, whether it's new or an extension of the old one, would address debt. That's big, Neil. So restaurants that are sitting on 5, 6, 7 months of debt can get that resolved through the next PPP. He also was very positive about reinstituting the business meal deduction, which is big, Neil. About 20 years ago, when that was removed from the industry, sales were really impacted by that. And the third commitment that we got from the president was that he will follow up on a domestic travel incentive, which is critical to Nevada, Florida, destinations like this that are only going to do well once the airplanes are filled. That was my purpose. So I now know I have a hospitality guy in President Trump. He's committed to these key platforms from the industry, and I hope we can get the same conversation with Joe Biden.
If it were Joe Biden to win, do you think you'd have someone who would be looking after the hospitality industry?
Even being bipartisan, it worries the heck out of me. When I hear about payroll going up, taxes going up for businesses, energy impacts, all of these layered on top of each other, Neil, that's horrifying to a business like ours, especially coming out of the pandemic. The PPP plan will get us out the other side of this. From there, the tax deductions can keep us going.
All right, you guys, to support us here, you guys go to PayPal at themullings@gmail.com. For those of you with child support cases, mortgages, foreclosures, tickets, citations, auto loans, student loans, warrants. And for those of you guys who have the GSA bonds and your spouses or your partners or your family members are in or subjected to any kind of interference, use the GSA bonds that you already have, that you already used, the same GSA bonds, just change, put the new numbers in for the cases or the situations, and pray, pray, pray. Heavenly Father God, we pray. Put a hedge of protection around all the good people that are trying to help us, and Donald Trump, the Army, the Navy, the military, the Marines. Thank you to the FBI, Interpol, Donald Trump, for helping us recently remedy some stuff here. A huge thank you to you. And yeah, just go forward and do what you guys need to do, okay? You guys can email us for the GSA bond templates and stuff, for those of you with warrants, and for those of you having to see an agent doing business as parole officer, as well as those of you in for nonviolent offenses. Nonviolent offenses, you guys can email us for the GSA bond templates to get back the finances they claimed you owed. You can also know the GSA bond templates to set off the matters, and then 1099 OID to get back the finances they claimed you owed. They tell us it's $2 million per charge. We didn't get back that much. We did get back something significant stuff that we're still grateful to this day. And also you can do the do not detain affidavit, the IRS status correction, the manufacturer's certificate of origin, so you own the automobile, as well as write to us for the Chain to the Sky book with the 11 or 10 affidavits to create U.S. postal money orders, also the international promissory notes, the bills of exchange, and our book, Time is the Master, Time is the Key, the Herbology book, and a whole host of stuff you guys hear us talk about here, the Insurrection Act, fraudulent conveyance of language laws, what have you. All right, so there's a bunch of stuff they sent to us recently. You guys know, go to subscribe to the Noble L, the original channel, and the Noble L, the second, this channel, right? As we go through this, here is Haile Selassie with his wife, right? Wake up, humans! You're endangered too. We had made a video about that. Yeah. Now this was some of the things that are African American or the Moors, the American Indians inventors list. So, shoe lasting machine, John Metzlinger created. Ironing board, Sarah Boone. Lubricators, Elijah McCoy. Horse bridle bit, L.F. Brown. Rocket catapult, Hugh McDonald created that. Horseshoe, Oscar E. Brown created that. Elevators, created by Alexander Miles. Pacemakers were created by Otis Boykin. Gas masks were created by Garrett Morgan. Guide missile was created by Otis Boykin. Traffic signals were created by Garrett Morgan. Lawnmowers were created by John A. Burr, B-U-R-R. Hairbrush was created by Lyda, L-Y-D-A, Lyda Newman. A typewriter was created by Burridge and Marshman. Heating furnace was created by Alice H. Packer. Train alarms were created by R.A. Butler. Airships were created by J.F. Pickering. Radiation detector was created by Geo Carruthers. Folding chairs were created by Purgy Sajwar. Peanut butter was created by George W. Carver. Hand stamps were created by W.B. Purvis. Paints and satins were created by George W. Carver. Fountain pen was created by W.B. Purvis. Lotions and soaps were created by George W. Carver. Dustpan was created by L.P. Ray. Automatic fishing reel was created by George Cook. insect destroyer gun was created by A.C. Richardson. Ice cream mold was created by A.L. Crale, C-R-L-L-E. Baby buggy was created by W.H. Richardson. And blood plasma was created by Dr. Charles Drew. Sugar refinement was created by N. Relix horse saddle was created by W.M. D. Davis, and clothes dryers were created by G.T. Sampson. Shoe was created by W.A. Detis. Cellular phones were created by Henry Sampson, and player piano was created by Joseph Dickinson. And let me see if I can see the last one here. Pressing comb was created by Walter Sampson, right? So, they showed us a whole bunch of stuff here. This was a church in Russia. Can you guys see that? All of our Moors and heirs are on those walls. American Indians. Now here's Haile Selassie. We had made a video about Emperor Haile Selassie, you guys, of Ethiopia. We were saying to the Rastafarians who hail him as a god, when the powers that be shared this with me many moons prior to even starting a YouTube channel, I was saying to the gods that Haile Selassie had sold out. He had partnered with the Queen and the Pope and the deep state entities. I don't know if the Chinese Communist Party was around then, but here he's doing the Freemason symbol. So he became a Freemason somewhere along the lines and sold out his own people. Hence why he was attacked. I think it was 3 or 4 times in that. And it was the Indians, the original indigenous people from the hills that came down to protect him 3 times. So I was saying this morning, I was meditating, and the Spirit of God brought to me what happened to the tribal entities that we had talked about originally on this channel, or the original channel. You guys comment below, give these videos a thumbs up. Remember to support us here. Go to PayPal at themullings@gmail.com. Thank you to everyone for your support to us here. Now, yeah, what happened to the people, the tribal people, in the midst of this pandemic? How come we don't hear about them with masks and thermometers? They give them, those people that don't wear any clothes, are they somehow protected from this pandemic? What about the people who live in those little small areas where there's like 10 or 20 people? Are they doing thermometers and test kits and masks there too? I don't think so, you guys. You need to look at this thing a little closer, right? All right, here is, I want to say, the original Mary and Jesus, right? One of the queens, one of the heirs. All right, so that was the Moors. Yeah, this is the wampum belts of the Iroquois. Because remember, before there was money, there was these wampum beads, right, that they used to trade with. Not only did they steal my land, blackmail image, they stole my existence. Yeah, man. American Indians, see that? Yeah. Okay. Now here are some other artifacts. I hope you guys can see these clearly. Here's another one, and they keep messing with the noses. You ever notice that? Thank you to the powers that be for sharing this with me. Anywho, and there's again the nose that they're messing with. All right. You notice they didn't mess with the lips, eh? The lips are still intact. It's only our people can have lips like that, boy. All right, now this is they said in Sudan, the Black Pharaohs. This was Charles Reason, mathematician, and more. Moorish Europe. Prince Among Slaves. This is a book, it looks like, by Terry Alford. The true story of the African people. No, the African prince. What does it say? Soup into slavery, or sold into slavery in the American South. This was the ancient African chiefs of the Nile in their own image, Nubian, Libyan, Commission, right? Okay. When Europeans decided to colonize the globe, over 300 million indigenous people of the Americas and Australia were murdered. Attention Office of International Criminal World Court, the Army, the Navy, the military, the Marines, Donald Trump, the Jay Clayton doing business as Securities and Exchange Commissioner, Joseph Otting doing business as Office of the Comptroller of Currency, the head for the United States Federal Trade Commission, Clearinghouse Department, also the heads for the Federal Bureau of Investigations heads, the Interpol, the Universal Postal Union heads, and all that is good globally, and the fraud department heads. I come to you in good faith in one's proper person as a living flesh and blood, sentient being, sui juris, sui heirs, heir to the world's vast estate, angel in Latin, rubus red rose, asexual seed plant, holding the highest diplomatic office, AA 222141, as American Indian, a Lodi Tuttle Marsh American National, Reubenite Tribe Chief. Go now quickly, round up the heads that are doing the voter fraud, that are getting paid in the thousands. I think she said it was $3 to, or $5 to $8 per vote, per voter, whatever. Go and round up all those agents now. How are you going to find them? Track the monies. Are the judges that are currently in play, did they also do the voter fraud, eh? If so, you're going to have to remove all the judges now, right? Replace them with good judges. You guys find some good judges out there. And some other entities that are being voted in unlawfully. Go and round them up this night for, voter fraud, right? And then return the funds back to the people and get the people to do the blockchain voting immediately. And so the people can vote properly. And do that now. Thank you in advance for your speedy response to this matter. By Noble Honorable Ange Elena D. Alpha L, Reubenite Tribe Chief, and get the funds out to all the businesses immediately. Do it in a way that they don't have to go through the bankers and be subject to any kind of corruption. Eh? When you do the stimulus package, just get the list of all the restaurant owners, the business owners, send it directly to their accounts, right? So they have access to it immediately. They don't have to apply for nothing. Just send it to them so they can do what they need to do, pay off what they need to pay off, and move forward too, right? Set our people free from these corrupt judges that have been subject to all this stuff. All Sharon Tracy, Kate Gale Bay, and all her concert decor at Pitts, and all the judges subjected to all of it, including Peter and Vilma and Patricia and all the other people, James, and all the other people you sent to us over the years that have been subjected to these corrupt judges and that look like they were also involved in the voter fraud. Thank you in advance for your speedy response to that matter. By Noble Honorable Ange L. Enidi Alpha L. Reubenite Tribe Chief American Indian, Allodial Title Moorish American National, UCC 1-308, without recourse, all rights reserved. I stand by the Book of Ruth, by my deceased husband, Oregon Harvested Jackson. Now, those of you who are correcting your status and going to rvbaypublications.com, remember to keep your first and last names. Just write El Bay, Day, Al, or Ali on the end of it as you're guided by your gods and your inner gods. Your ancestors will tell you who you are. If you're Al and Al and Ali, whatever, they will add that to your names. You need your last names and your first names. Those are divine. One is for ethnicity, one is for nationality. On your mother's side, it's your nationality. On your father's side, it's your ethnicity, right? So you need to keep all of that. It's very important. All right, when Europeans decided to colonize the globe, over 300 million indigenous people of the Americas and Australia were murdered. Wow. Native American, Aboriginal, Australian. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, this is Egyptian Museum, Amarna, Cairo, Egypt. Kenneth Garrett was, says print. Doesn't she look exactly like Lauryn Hill? Guys, look at this woman carefully. To me, she looks like Lauryn Hill. Look at her face. Hazel Scott, born in Spain, Trinidad in 1920. The late singer pianist Hazel Scott is the originator of the quote, "Any woman who has a great deal to offer the world is in trouble, and if she's a black woman, she's in deep trouble." Wow. Okay, so here we go. Egypt Day tours. All right. Conquest of Native American nations. I don't know if I believe that, quite frankly. Okay, the Navy is getting in its first ever female 4-star admiral. Okay. American Aborigines. There's the American Indian. There we are today. Negro who can write Hebrew. He is deaf and dumb and comes from the African town Hartford. He carries a pad of paper with him and answers all questions by writing them in Hebrew and Loshin Kodesh. He says his people not only write Loshin Kodesh, but it is their speaking language as well. In each town, he hunts up the Jewish section. And there they give him clothes and food and money. Wow. So this was the story way back when. All right, original 6 members of the Black Panther, and make sure you exonerate the Black Panthers, because you guys know these guys did good. All they were doing were trying to uplift their communities, eh? Top left, right, Elbert, Big Man Howard, Huey P. Newton, Defense Minister, Sherwin Ford, Bobby Seale, Chairman, bottom, Reggie Ford, and Little Bobby Hutton, Treasurer. Indians poisoned at peace meeting. Nice. This was in May 1623. Captain Williams Tucker led English soldiers. You guys go to a peace treaty meeting. Don't eat nothing. Don't touch nothing. Okay. This is our people, the American Indians. How do I know? It's the hair people. This was Samuel Coleridge Taylor, 1875 to 1912. This was Blackfeet Man. And this is Ham and Shem, Egyptians, Hebrews, Arabs in the land of the blacks, Baliad el Sudan. Right. This was the Black Buddha and the Israelite Buddhists. This is ancient Egyptian sources. The singer exhibited 1889 and applause 1893. And Edward Onslow. This was head of the unidentified king. Tournaments found in King Tuthmos, the third temple. And this is another one of those astrodomes that we were talking about that was doing the weather modification programs. You guys check and see if all these things are really taken down. And these are some children, some of our little heirs and kings and queens. This is a statue head of an Henatn, a large sandstone bust. Marcus Garvey, we are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery because whilst others might free the body, but none but ourselves can free our mind, can free the mind. Wasn't that a Bob Marley song? Marcus Garvey speaking in the Menelek Hall, Sydney, Nova Scotia. Sydney, Nova Scotia, 1937. Is it Sydney and Nova Scotia? Or is there Sydney, Nova Scotia, like place in Canada? I don't know. Okay. Tout de Noir. Okay. Seneca, you guys know that Manhattan, they sent me this, I'm going to put in the description below, the history of Manhattan and Central Park. Central Park, there was originally just Lower Manhattan, and then it got too crowded, so our people moved out. The heirs, the American Indians, the Moors, moved into Manhattan. They bought up land. They were doing really well, had churches and all kinds of stuff that they had established, right? Then the, I want to say, the Irish and some other entities moved in. Shortly thereafter, the so-called media and these agents, entities, I don't know who they were, decided they wanted a park, some kind of Central Park, somehow subjected the people again to the Trail of Tears, moved those people out, and now we have Central Park today. International authorities go and put the people back in Central Park and that because they're looking after it. Hence the dumps that we're now facing, right, in so-called Central Park and the 10,000 dumps around the globe. Go and remedy that situation and compensate the people for that interference. Here's a Queen, Egypt Museum, and here's some kings, Ham and Shem, Egyptians, Hebrews, and Arabs in the land of the blacks. Bilad El Sudan. This was Fithori Viro Menelik, the grandson of the Emperor Menelik. Okay. And this was Legacy of Kemet, Nubian Pharaoh Shebet. Okay. And then Oklahoma becomes a state. And frontline army posts in the Dakotas, 1860 to 1890. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit here. Remember, you guys, to support us, go to PayPal at themullings@gmail.com. Remember, those of you in need of the GSA bonds, you can write to us at themullings@gmail.com to set off the matters. This is what the map looks like, so you guys can see it. It's clear enough so you guys can see it here, right? And then international authorities have to go round up all the media heads for the trees in this season, right? And so we can get clear news. And what else do we have here? Yeah, I just thought she was beautiful. Dido Elizabeth Bell, 1761 to 1804, another queen. More air. And this was Kwazi Boki, 1827 to 9th of June, 1904. And this was the Black Seminole Indians were the best scouts, warriors, and cowboys. Another one of our queens. And this is a Tout de Noir statue. This I thought was just beautiful. Queen and the King, Queen Nandi, mother of the Zulus. Okay. And this is the tribes of the Iroquois Confederation. Again, our kings and queens. And then this is the Ethiopian soldiers being reviewed by Haile Selassie. And this again is another one of our Black Madonnas of Europe. And this is the speech at the unveiling of the statue of Menelik, another one of our kings. Wow. Is that a real tiger? Wow. And then this is Patomi and the different Shawnee, Delaware. I guess these are the different tribes. And another one of our statue queens. And the Osage cabinet photo. And who is this? Haile Selassie or another king? This is another king. And another statue and our people here. Marcus Garvey was in this picture. You guys see that? Marcus Garvey is here, right? I don't know who these two other guys are. Comment below, you guys. And another one of our statues. And Haile Selassie again, right? The Rastafaro. Yeah. Some of these we went over. We did already. All right, you guys, like, share, subscribe. You guys have yourself a great day. I put a hedge of protection around Donald Trump, the Army, the Navy, the military, the Marines, and all that is good globally. You guys remember to subscribe to this channel. Faith without works is dead. Harm no man and let no man harm you. And just keep on keeping on, all right? As we go through this journey and discover what's going on. Fully. Have a great day. And remember to subscribe to the original channel, Noble L, and subscribe to this channel, Noble L II. Like, share, subscribe. You guys have yourself a great day.